Want to rise above what holds you back? These are the stories of those fighting that battle. It might also be the story of you. I'm Dan Waldschmidt, author of Edgy Conversations and strategist of billion-dollar companies all over the world. This is Mark Menard, author of The Story of You, the guy who knows a thing or two about never giving up. You're listening to Elevating Beyond. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Elevating Beyond with a two-word mission statement: change lives. And we're here today actually as a special treat in the Dreamshine office, in my office here at Dreamshine. I'm wearing this ugly sweater because it's ugly sweater day before Christmas. We're having our I have to explain it so they're not just like, what is going on? We're having our Dreamshine Christmas party for our individuals with special needs. And I'm honored today. I have Mr. Daniel Crease here, who...
Good morning.
We'll get into both of you, sir. We have a lot going on, but most recently, your Multicultural Center. So what do you call yourself as your title for everything that you have going on, Mr. Daniel?
I'm the executive director of the Q. Daniel Crease Multicultural Center. And once we put the reason for putting the multicultural on the name is because I wanted to reach out to as many different nationalities as I possibly can and bring what they're going through, their trials and tribulations, and what their contributions are in their newfound homeland, which is now the United States. So
awesome.
By giving it the multicultural name, other people will see that name, you'll see it on media and everything like to say, hey, what's going on there?
Absolutely. And you're going to hear what's going on there and also some of the backstory of the struggle to get it to where it is now and what the awesome vision is that's happening. And then I have Elder Dwayne Lopes here.
Yes, sir.
And, of course, got author here. When did this come out, My Father's Business?
Actually, it came out October 2011, actually, the book. But I went back and made some changes to the book, and especially with the inside content of the book. There were some things that God downloaded inside my spirit that he wanted me to retouch up and reword and so forth, changing the content. But basically, real quick, the book is basically about, God's will for people's lives. A lot of people don't know what God's will is for their lives. And, I talk about, three aspects. Well, for God's will for his son Jesus. First, God's work for his son Jesus, because the work of Jesus was the miracles that he performed here on the earth, healing the blind, opening up deaf ears, raising the dead. That was just the work of miracles. And then I talk about the will for Jesus that God gave him, which was dying on the cross for humanity's sins. And then I talk about the will that God has for us as people on this earth. And people don't know. When you ask them, what is God's will for your life, they'll look at you kind of dumbfounded and just say, I really don't know. But I actually talk about specific details of what God's will is for your life that are found through the scriptures.
Nice.
And that God, just kind of highlighted while I was reading the Bible and brought it off the pages of the scriptures and to my spirit. And I said, wow, this is really good information. And it's precise, it's specific. And then the last of it, let me see, it's the work of Jesus, it's the will of Jesus, and the will for us that God has for us, but also the worship that we have in Jesus as believers. And that's basically and one last point, I talk about the wrath of Jesus. When Jesus returns and how he's going to punish the ungodly, the people that don't have faith in him. And that's basically what the whole entire book is about. But we don't have enough time to talk about the details of.
Well, we'll have a link where everyone can purchase it and learn more about it. And what's cool with sharing this and having both of you here today is, first of all, I connected with both of you from getting to go to the Multicultural Center.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
From being on the show that's on your show on the Now Network.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we'll have all the links where everyone can connect with both of you.
Yes.
See what's going on. Check out the shows. Check out the Multicultural Center. And all three of us, it was really cool, especially being on the show, but I really just liked hanging out with both of you and learning. You both had so much that you were doing now. You both had overcome so much, and also the relationship, like the bond the two of you had, and all the jokes. It was just really cool to see that, what you guys had built over the years. And I just think a lot of times people can see what you have going on now, the books, the businesses, the TV networks, and not think that there was like a history of any type of struggle, and think, well, Daniel and Elder Lopes, they must have they didn't go through what I went through, they must have been on that other end of the block where there wasn't the struggle. And I have people, everyone on doing my show knows I was in jail at age 17 and doing lucky to even be alive, thank God, And as I talk to both of you more and more, there's different levels. I mean, that could be a whole show going through so much that you both overcome. But something specifically, we were talking pre-show, and it's a really powerful example of what happened with your stepson getting shot.
Yes, he was murdered, and they did a home invasion on him.
How old?
Actually, when he died, was around 22, and he was young, and he went down the wrong road, but he was brought up in church. Actually, it's just that the streets they call our young men, especially African American men. The streets, it's like a calling that calls them, and actually through his death became the birth of my prison ministry. And because I was reminiscing on how he died and why he died, and while I was in college, I wrote a paper titled "Why There Was Such a Mass Incarceration of African American Males." And my professor, what I found out, it was a pattern, and I found out through this pattern of poverty, poor education, peer pressure, single parenting, and also moral principles, poor moral principles. I found out through my professor, when he read the paper, he gave me an A+, and he said, "Dwayne, I never actually read so much depth information. Where did you get all this information? And it's so factual. It brought tears to my eyes." So that let me know that there was, when I saw this deadly cycle, this carousel pattern that was taking place that causes this mass incarceration of African American males, I looked at my son, because he was my stepson. He was incarcerated at one time, and then they released him, and then he went back to the streets and did some illegal activities, and it cost him his life. So I knew that I couldn't just stay on the sideline and be quiet any longer. Yeah, it birthed a flame inside of me, and that's the reason why I'm passionate, and I'm persistent, and also I'm very adamant about going inside the prisons, because I walk up and down the aisles when I'm teaching too. I have no fear whatsoever, because I want to bring liberation to the minds that are incarcerated, not just physically incarceration, but mental incarceration.
Well, there's so many people everyone's going through something, and to know whether they're on the flip side of they're on the parenting end of that, or they're on the younger generation of being stuck, I think, like you were saying, in a cycle.
Yes.
There's so many, and there's a lot of people, there's different levels of cycles. Like you were saying, there's been the problem where a lot of African American, I mean, even where I was, where there was a lot of the poorer areas, like when I was in the trailer park, and it was almost like everyone there was doing something, no matter what color their skin was. It was like 90% of the people were thinking, this is the only way that we can. It was like all we kept seeing around us. It was our environment. It was like the successful people. They're born that way. They're they'd be like, you're a sellout if you're like that. And I just remember being on the other end thinking, I was like stuck in that stupid kind of victim mindset, thinking there was no way to break the cycle. And now we see like what's going on now, and even with you building your own, there's a long story behind it, about starting to build your own business.
Yeah.
What would you say would be a cycle that you had been felt that you were stuck in before, that led to, like, what inspired you to think I can start to do this and have my own company now?
Okay.
When a lot of people around you are probably saying it's
not
life doesn't look like this. That's we don't do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. For one, I disagree to a point of about, you often hear that it's a single mother. Single mothers have been raising kids for a long time. Now, with this,
that's why I'm sitting in the middle of them.
with this generation now, and they call it the millennial generation, what have you. Unfortunately, laws of the land have stripped parents to be able to effectively correct their child.
Correct.
It's clearly states in the Bible, it's not a parable that you can misunderstand. Spare the rod, spoil the child. And the reason why that's so imperative, that some of the kids' heads so hard, put them in a corner and call them timeout, it's not going to work at all. They'll think it's a joke. Most of the kids nowadays, if you go in their room, you might as well send them to Disneyland. They got their computers. They can reach out.
It's true. No, and it says
it's a different day and time.
The world's going to be. The truth is, and every kid has a different type. Like with having 5, there's one of my kids. My daughter. If I yell at her, that's like I spank the. That's to her. To my son, if you yell at him, it's nothing.
Yeah.
And you got to do with everyone because what the bigger thing is, the world's going to be way harder on you.
Right, exactly.
Then on the flip side of it, you got prison, you got people coming in with guns.
Yeah.
Well, look at it this way.
Like, I'm really trying to help you.
Look at it this way. If you gave police the same authority that you have given to the parents now, no guns, no baton. You're not allowed to put your hands on anybody. If you do, you can go to jail for domestic violence. Give the police that same authority and see how effective policing will be. Because there's no way in the world that they can say, "Hey, freeze! Don't you move!" Like they're going to listen to you. They're able
going to timeout.
Yes. You try to stay
in your room with your iPad and your iPhone.
Exactly.
Go to the police car.
Can you imagine that?
Your room.
As a matter of fact, I want you to go to the police station, turn yourself in.
And shut your cell phone off.
Exactly. How dare you? So now that we have shifted to another, you see that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's a whole nother dynamic behind sparing the rod, spoiling the child, or telling parents they can't look. Because now with the domestic violence charge, a lot of people, if you have CDLs, you get a domestic violence charge, they take it. If you have a prominent position in your corporation, you get a domestic violence charge, they will demote you or fire you. They say you can't maintain this job. So oftentimes parents are handcuffed. Well, the only thing they did have going for them was respect. You're going to respect me. And if you don't, this is the result of you not respecting me. I told my son, I said, "Son, that room you reside in, what do you call it?" He said, "That's my room." I said, "Technically speaking, that's my room.
Yeah,
I loaned it. It's on loan to you.
You're not paying the rent or the mortgage."
Exactly. It's on loan to you. So oftentimes we used to get in arguments, and I would say, "Everybody paying on the mortgage, raise your hand." So since I'm the only one raising my hand and everything like that, my rule is law. I'm the sheriff here.
Same with you with kids and fun. I've seen it now. Each new kid that I had, and we're done now with 5. Each younger generation, everyone in the class is having like a phone and stuff earlier and earlier.
Right.
And it's up to the parents how they want to work all that out. Do it however you think is best. But also, I'm paying the bill on this phone. I'm going to have the password and look at anything I want anytime on the phone that I pay the bill for.
Exactly.
If you have your own phone that you pay the bill for and you're living on your own, you do what you want. If I'm paying it and I want to check, I don't need to ask your permission.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll do it and as you get more, we'll do it age appropriately, and I won't just be disrespectful. But if I ever need to, I don't need to also give you a reason why, because I know some parents that are like, I don't want to get in any of my kids' business. I don't want. Well, what if? But you need to sometimes.
I totally disagree.
Right?
Again, parents that would say that, I totally disagree to, because the problem is, oftentimes you hear, if somebody would have said something sooner, if somebody would have intervened, you got bullying. Bullying is at an all-time high. You got kids on drugs. You got kids that are making bombs in their room.
Yeah.
If you don't go in and check your kid's room or go down in the basement and see them what they're doing, this comes along with the territory. So when you pray for these kids and God gives you these kids, he entrusts you to his precious gift. You have to make good time management of what you've been put in charge of. And discipline is part of that. Prying into their business is part of that.
And it takes more, because I think this is great. I like how, like with conflict, see, a lot of people look at conflict as always a negative thing, but the truth is healthy conflict leads to resolving, and sometimes it's easier. It's like, I don't see it, I don't know what's happening, I'm just not going to deal with it, and we're going to pretend like nothing's going on. It takes more to get into it, and you got to get in with your kid and argue with them, but you're doing it because you love them, and you know what the world can do to them. I know what it can do to me, and I think it's lazier of a parent. Isn't it so easy to just say, "Oh, they'll be fine"? Now that's lazy, because like you're saying, going back to your thing with a single mom, it's not necessarily just about a single mom. It's about what is that? How is that mom doing with raising them? Is she just like, oh, I'm not ever going to check, I'm not going to get, or is she the type that I'm going to get in, I'm going to do what I need to do?
How many families do you know? I know multiple families. They had multiple kids, and the father was either passed or in prison or not there. And yet, all the kids all 5, all 6, 7 of them went to college. All of them are doing very well on the single mother, because she instilled something in the beginning. She instilled respect. They respected that mother. So nowadays, if you're not equipped to raise a kid, and you're given raising kids with one hand behind your back, is even more different than not having another spouse there. I think that putting the kids in church, definitely. Putting them in positive after-school programs, definitely. If you don't have an after-school program, everything like that, there's people in the neighborhood that don't mind taking a kid to play basketball. The mother's not going to play basketball. Kid does basketball, how's he going to learn? So, and the father's not there. So you have to be 110%. You got outlets, but you have to be 100% assertive in your kid's life as far as making sure they go down the right path. Because, like you said, Elder Lopes said, the streets they have a calling on it. Unfortunately, along with that calling, what you mentioned earlier, being in a trailer park, there's kids in an impoverished situation. There's a certain bravado about them, and they're destined to prove themselves. They want to prove themselves to a gang.
We've got a front,
like they can stick your chest out, like you're not afraid. You don't cry. You're not scared. And really, you're terrified.
I wanted to say something about what you were saying, Daniel, about the parenting skills, because what I was just telling my wife recently here. Me and my wife will be adopting a little girl, and one thing I noticed, like I told her, I said, this little girl does not need weak parenting. She needs strong guidance and strong leadership in order to guide her in the right direction. And see, that's what I'm hearing what Daniel is talking about. As far as leadership skills, has to be strong in the parents. And some of those parents don't have that. Some parents lack that. And that's why the percentage was very high when I saw that there was a mass incarceration. Single parenting played a role. There are single parents, mothers. I was raised by a single mother. She did a great job. And there are some out there that do raise their kids and they do go to college. But there are also single parents out there, mothers out there that will they have weak parenting skills, and they just let their kids they don't take the responsibility or the accountability to raise their kids, and they just let them run the streets so they can get out of their hair. And that is not parenting. My mother made sure that me and my brother, we always informed her where we were, and when we're coming home.
Mandatory.
Yeah, whose friends
Who you hanging out with?
we're hanging out with, or we're going to spend the night at their house. We have to give her the address and everything. She has strong leadership skills as far as parenting is concerned.
So your mom made it a point to know.
Yeah. So but what I see, whether it's drugs or alcohol, or anyone can really turn to drugs and alcohol as an outlet to escape the realities of this world. But the thing is, you have a kid here, and if that kid does not motivate you to be better and to do better, then it's kind of like God, like you said, God entrusted you with this child.
That's right.
You need to step up to the plate and provide for this child as God provides for you. And you need to get a dream, a vision, write the vision down, make it plain. Maybe the vision comes in a multicultural center form, or maybe it comes in to Elevating Beyond or Dream Shine, or maybe it comes into book form. And that's I'm working on my second book titled God's Mathematics, and that'll be out published 2019. I'll be complete with that as well. But also I have a TV ministry called the Now Network, and we not to get off track here, but what I wanted to say is Bishop T.D. Jakes said this once, and I recall the memory. He said that one thing you have to know about your kid as a parent, you might have 5 or 6, but you need to know, do your kids possess a teachable spirit? Yeah. And deep down inside who has the aggressive spirit, and who has the teachable spirit.
And there's different levels of kids. My son now, who's 17 and 240 pounds.
Wow. Elevating Beyond.